So I hallucinated like cars up in the trees and patio furniture. I think I just wanted to see the parking lot like really badly. Then the hallucinations progressed. And on the last descent, I was seeing like this family of birds, like Snow White has, like just like dancing in front of me and leading me down the trail. So
Hello, we are back.
We sure are. And now that Western's over, it's my turn.
What?
And I just signed up for my very first stage race.
Wow.
And I'm so excited.
Which one's that?
It's called Run the Rocks, Moab Run the Rocks. It's taking place March 2023. And it covers 80K over the course of 3 days.
And that is its first year, right?
Yes, it's the inaugural running, and it's sold out very quickly. So I'm lucky to get in. And we're going down with a few fellow Ontarians.
Ontarians, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's a word, but hey, I'll take it.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
That is exciting, and that's going to be a winter training for a March race.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. I've blocked that part out of the equation.
Yeah, we are very picky with our spring races. Anyway.
Apparently not, because I just signed up for 80K in March, so...
Hey, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Who we got today, Norm?
Well, first, what's happening in the world of GottaRunRacing? What's coming up? I'm wearing...
Well,
Chase the Coyote.
Final edition
Yes.
of Chase the Coyote.
Yeah.
And if you can't race, or you are racing and you want to check out the course, we're doing a training run on August the 14th.
Yep.
So check out our GottaRunRacing Facebook page for details on that.
Mm-hmm.
Hope to see you there.
Yeah, it's going to be something.
Sure
Our
is.
final year, and I changed the course to make it new again for its final year.
Nothing major. Nothing major.
Okay. Who is on the podcast today?
We have Joanna Ford, who's fresh off of Hardrock.
Ugh. Tell me about Hardrock.
Well, I will tell you about Hardrock. It starts and ends in Silverton, Colorado, travels through the towns of Telluride, Ouray, I think it's pronounced, and the ghost town of Sherman, crossing 13 major passes over 3,500 meters.
Yeah.
In order to complete the event, instead of crossing a finish line, runners are required to kiss the Hardrock, a picture of a ram's head painted on a large block of stone mining debris. I'm sure we've all seen that photo.
Yeah.
The cutoff time's 48 hours, which tells you a lot. It features 10,000 meters of climb and a descent for a total elevation change of 20,000 meters. And the average elevation of the course is 3,300 meters. So you better like mountains and you better like elevation.
At the end, though, can you just give it a fist pump? Because,
Post-COVID?
yeah.
Well, they're still kissing it. It's a big rock.
Yeah, you can find a spot.
Only 145 runners, so you can be selective.
Maybe kiss the back of the ram's head rather than the front.
There you go.
So,
Without further ado, here's Joanna.
coming up. Welcome, Joanna Ford, to the podcast.
thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And a big congrats on finishing Hardrock.
Wow.
Thanks. Yes, it was a big goal. Took a lot of years to get there.
And thanks to Leo Fung, who introduced us to you. He was also at Hardrock finishing.
Yes. Leo and I are great friends, and I can't believe he did Western States and Hardrock. That's amazing.
I can't believe that either. I don't know how he couldn't have been recovered in time, but clearly he was recovered enough to finish that beast.
He took off from the gun. Both Chris and I, who were also running it, were like, "Oh, look at Leo go!" And he just like took off.
That's awesome.
Well, we're going to talk about Hardrock and other things, but first, let's go back to the beginning and tell us how you even started running.
I've always been interested in running. I read about Terry Fox as a child, so ever since I read about him running marathons across the country, I thought, oh, I want to do that. But I wasn't very disciplined as a kid. I just wanted to do whatever I wanted. So it took, I don't know, in my early 20s, I probably started running more consistently and ran my first marathon. And then after a couple of road marathons, I fractured a foot in the Boston Marathon. And then I decided that long distance running wasn't for me and that maybe I should stick to short distances. And I went for a trail run and they lied to me about how long it was. And I think everyone has a story like that about trail running.
Tell us about your first ultra. What was it and how long was it?
My first ultra was Rundle's Revenge, which was a 50K in Canmore. And I was doing it as a training run for my first 50-mile run, which was like my big goal. It's called Iron Legs. It's a race in Alberta. I had volunteered at it the year before and was just blown away at the runners that were completing this race. So I was really inspired and said, I want to run Iron Legs. So yeah, I ran Rundle's Revenge 50K, which is a 4-loop kind of easy trail run to get 50K 6 weeks before Iron Legs.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
When did Hardrock come on your radar?
And in 2013, I ran my first 100-miler, which was Pine to Palm. And it was a Hardrock qualifier. So that's when the lottery process started. I don't remember when I first heard about Hardrock, but I definitely knew about it when I was running Pine to Palm. And I thought, maybe like 5 years or so until I got into the race. And here I am 9 years later, but it happened eventually. Yeah.
I didn't know Pine
to Palm.
Pine to Palm. That's hard to say 5 times.
Yeah. Once it's hard to say.
But I thought when looking at your profile that Fat Dog would have been your first.
Yeah, so Pine to Palm isn't a qualifier anymore,
okay.
But it was at the time. So again, just to give like a scope of the time frame.
Yeah.
Fat Dog, I'm not sure. Like I might have run Bighorn. I'm not sure. Maybe Fat Dog or maybe Bighorn was my next one. And then I've run Bighorn a couple times as a qualifier. So yeah.
Let's talk about Fat Dog for a moment here because tough race. Let's take us through Fat Dog.
So I ran it the wet dog year. So there was torrential storms and a series of them. There was a huge number of dropouts from people getting hypothermia, and it was like really, really terrible weather. And I always joke that when I run races with Leo, that he always brings the terrible weather. So yes, Leo was there. And I was doing really well at that race. But I got some shin pain. There's a series of really long descents, and also it was really muddy. And I just hadn't trained adequately for running that long a descent. So I got a shin injury and I tried to quit. My husband, who's not a runner, is not active at all, came out and found me on the course, and he wouldn't let me quit. And I remember being so angry with him that he wouldn't let me stop. But he's like, no, you got to qualify for Hardrock. This is your dream race, So he, as a non-runner, he walked with me for 55 kilometers.
Wow.
Are you serious?
That race. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because he actually ran out of water. So I had to give him my water. And then we were up high on the mountain and he's afraid of heights. So I gave him my poles to help him with the heights. And then we joked that that's like the perfect pacer situation because I was so concerned about him that I couldn't worry about myself anymore.
Good strategy.
Wow,
I like it.
That's a great story. The fact that he became the perfect crew.
Yeah, it was really an epic. It took me almost 45 hours, and I walked 100 kilometers, and it was so painful. My ankle was super swollen, and it was not, at the time, it was quite a negative experience, but now I'm very grateful that we, stuck with it. And my shin injury, like, honestly, it was fine. Like 5 days later, no pain. So it was the right call. But at the time I was a bit soft and I didn't know how to distinguish between like long-term injury pain and just pain. Like 100 milers are painful. So yeah.
Everybody that we've spoken to that's done Fat Dog has hallucinated at some point during that race. So did that happen to you?
Yeah, it's the race with my best hallucinations and my first ones. So I hallucinated like cars up in the trees and patio furniture. I think I just wanted to see the parking lot like really badly. So I kept seeing so much patio furniture and so many just old Oldsmobiles like up in the car, but then in the trees, then the hallucinations progressed. And on the last descent, I was seeing like this family of birds, like Snow White has, like just like dancing in front of me and leading me down the trail. So
well, that's a fun one.
Yeah, that's not scary at least.
No, I've never had a scary hallucination. And the patio furniture I've had since then as well. I think like around 30 hours, it's quite normal. If you're in the forest, I think it's just like how the trees look, but I haven't had the birds since then. So yeah.
Would you ever do Fat Dog again?
Yeah, I really liked it. And that particular shin injury, I think it's just like a rite of passage when you're building up volume and getting used to doing more vert. So I don't think it would happen again. And I feel like the course is well suited to me, but the course has changed like 5 times since then. They keep having like fires and floods and whatever. So I'm a bit worried about signing up in case it gets canceled, because it tends to get canceled, or if it's like really smoky, because I won't run in smoke. So kind of sucks to like train and pay for a race and then not run it. But
yeah. But it sounds that going back, you could probably do a lot better than 45 hours.
Yeah, I think before I got hurt, like at the 100K mark, I think I was in like 3rd. And I was like feeling really good. And then, yeah, like I said, all or nothing, right?
Very good.
Yeah.
Now you've done Bighorn a couple of times, 2017 and 2019, and they were both around the 30-hour mark. So another tough one, but how did they go for you?
I always have big aspirations for Bighorn because I feel like it's another race that I could potentially do super well. But yeah, I haven't. So Bighorn, I don't know if you've run it, but it's really deceptively challenging course. And in Alberta, we have snow till June, and then Bighorn's in June. So it's really hard to train for it. And then Bighorn tends to be like super muddy. And I just hate mud. And my 2 finishes at Bighorn, I just lost my mind. And I was like, I was so angry at the world and at everything and at this stupid race and, just like a really negative attitude. And yeah, so maybe I'll do Bighorn again one day just to like do it with a better attitude. But I love the course. It's stunningly beautiful. It has amazing flowers. It's super well organized. The community is really good. I like the other racers are awesome. So there's a lot of positive, but 100 miles in June is really challenging. And yeah.
Yep.
So you had several tickets going into Hardrock. Where and when were you? Where were you and how you found out? What was the experience like were you following the lottery closely?
No, I wasn't. No. I went out for a run and I was out of saw range.
Nice.
Yeah, in the past I'd been more involved and more hopeful. I'd actually given up on Hardrock, to be honest. I didn't think that I was eligible for the lottery this year, and then I realized that I was, just with like the cancellations and rollovers and stuff. The 2019 Bighorn ended up being okay. So I was like, I wasn't going to bother qualifying anymore and was going to move on. So
Aww.
yeah, I know. So I'm pretty happy that it all worked out. And I think maybe that's where I needed to get to. Right. So.
And you were trying to get in for 6-7 years. Is that basically right?
Yeah. Well, my first and lottery entry was 2013, but then the race got canceled a couple times. So I think it ended up being 9 years from entry to running it.
And you're such a different runner now than you were 9 years ago, right?
Yeah.
I can relate.
Yeah. And if you think about women, and this is why I think it's really crucial they make some different rules for women, is if you have a baby, right? Like, so if you get pregnant and then you're breastfeeding and you're expected to run a 100-mile, like tough mountain qualifier in there to qualify, because really like having a baby is not a 1-year process. So I do think it's really important to have some like general exceptions in there for women. And I think that might be part of the reason why female participation has been so low.
Yeah, exactly. So leading into the race and you're standing at the start line, did you feel prepared? Were you ready?
Yeah, I was as ready as I could be. I had some like health issues in 2019, 2020. And I had like the end of that was a bone graft in December 2020. So like basically when my name was drawn from the lottery, I was in like the worst shape I've been in a very long time.
Wow.
Yeah. So I feel like I did the best I could in those 6 months, you know, leading up. And I was happy with that. I wasn't like, I'm not in the best shape of my life, but I was, you know, pretty good. So.
Well, you and I have a lot in common. Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Okay. Let's talk race day. So let's talk about the first 10 hours.
Okay. You might see my cat in the screen here.
Oh, that's fine.
That's okay.
Yeah. So the first 10 hours I went off, I tried to be kind of slow, but it's hard to do. So I just ended up settling in with a group of guys and just kind of like shuffle, walked, ran up. Like it's a very long gradual climb up the first climb. And then I knew, because I've done one other race at altitude, I knew that I can't digest fat at altitude at all. So I had a pure sugar diet basically planned. And then I was hoping to eat real food at the aid stations, which are like where I saw my crew, which was lower altitude. And then I'd also like actually like physically stop walking and eat just to like lower my heart rate and to take a few breaths rather than trying to run and eat at the same time. So I was sticking to that plan pretty well, and it was really good. And my friend Chris and I were kind of in the same general area, which was fun. And then we came to the first descent, and I love descending. So then I was gone. And that was super fun. And it was just beautiful waterfalls everywhere, like wildflowers everywhere, just stunning and nice. And then we came up to the next climb, and Jamil Khoury passed me at the aid station there. And we had done some of Whistler Alpine Meadows together. So I kind of know a little bit of his pacing. I'm like, man, like I shouldn't be going at the same pace as. So I was happy he passed me.
He was trying to keep up with his brother, I think.
Yeah. He looked very comfortable. But I think, I don't know, I might have been going a bit quick. It's hard to say. I felt really good though. And then we got headed up Grant Swamp Pass, I think is what it's called. On the way up initially on that climb, I got stung by a bee or something in my leg. So that was uncomfortable, but then you just kind of like move on. And I really run 100 milers because I want to be by myself in nature and just enjoy myself. And like it kind of got to me. And that's like probably the only part where I feel like I could have mentally been a bit better. because there's just so many people. And so I was trying to give back to them by smiling and being like, hey, thanks for being here and whatever. But, you know, like internally, I'm like, oh, I just want to be by myself, you know? So yeah, it was really, really beautiful. And I was excited to see Islands Lake. But I pushed too hard on that climb, for sure I did. And just because I was trying to get away from people. And then on the other side was a scree slope, which in Alberta, we have scree everywhere.
Oh, don't like that.
The worst.
Oh, okay. Well, for me, it was awesome.
Can you slide down?
Yeah. So I had a blast. I just took off and there was no one on the other side except I could see like Leo, like in the distance on the horizon. So I just like took off and it just felt like $1 million and caught up to Leo. And it's funny because afterwards, when I uploaded to Strava, I got the course record on all 3 segments on the descent.
Wow.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I just wanted to like get away. But again, probably a bit too fast. I don't know.
When the sun set for the first time, hopefully you're on a mountain to see the sunset, were you?
I was headed up Bear Creek. So I was just kind of peeking above tree line when it set so I could see pink on the horizon. But then I was in this canyon where there's like a cliff on our left and like a big drop off on our right. And that's where most of my sunset occurred. So I didn't see, but I saw pictures of the sunset. It looked pretty cool.
So running 8 hours during the night, anything interesting happen? I guess you're with your...
Just so much vomiting.
Oh, nice. Yeah. That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So like the first vomiting happened during the day. There was a torrential downpour as I was coming down from Kroger's canteen. And it was just nuts. And I tucked into an outhouse to put on a rain jacket and use the facilities. And when I got out, I was chewing on some gummies and I thought that I just had one kind of stuck in my throat. So I coughed and then I just spewed everywhere. Oh, wow. And then, yeah, another Canadian Nat, was running down the road and saw me like curled up on the side. And so he joined me for the rest of the way down into Tigray. And I kind of was hoping that would be the only vomiting of the race, because sometimes you can get away with it, right? But yeah, then on the way up Bear Creek, it wasn't full vomiting, it was dry heaving. And so I was just, like curled up, like in so much pain. My stomach was just tied in knots and I couldn't even stand up straight and nothing was coming out. So that was really uncomfortable. But yeah, and then the last of the vomiting was at sunrise. So it was many miles.
So it reminded you of your college days.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow. So your goal was now to hopefully finish before the sun sets again?
Yeah. Yeah, like I never had a firm goal because I knew the altitude would just really mess with me. Like it's really entirely different from running a race at like home level, right? Like I live, like our mountains, when I went down there, anything over 7,000 feet was still snow covered. And then on this race, I think the lowest you get is like 9,000 feet. So it's like, it's like, it's not the same and your body functions very differently. So I knew that it was going to be a problem, especially with eating food was going to be really hard, and figuring out the pacing was going to be really hard because it feels like your legs aren't even moving, right? And yet your heart rate's like skyrocketed, but you're not going anywhere. So. Yeah. So I had like a dream goal of like being between 32 and 33 hours, but I knew the only way that could happen would be if I didn't vomit. So as soon as I felt nauseous, I'm like, okay, well,
plan B.
Yeah. Which, there was a very slim chance I was going to avoid getting sick. So I was okay with that. And then I felt like once I realized I was going to be fighting the nausea battles, and that I stayed with it, and I just kept moving. And I was really happy to finish before sunset, because that would have sucked, right? Take out that headlamp again, and you've been awake for so long. And at that point, you just feel like you're not even moving. You're just like standing in place, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, after 9 years of trying, what's going through your mind as you're approaching the finish line? Like, can you believe that? Is it feeling surreal that you've just done it? And
Are you sad that it's over?
Yeah.
There's a lot of gratitude. Like, I had a lot of hurdles, like life challenges going into this race, probably more than any other race I've gone into. So for me, just to like make it there and to do it, and to like be proud of myself and the way I completed it, just from a mental mindset perspective, just like really grateful. And then also I knew there was two ladies right behind me. So on the last climb, we all left the aid station together.
Ooh.
And they were looking super strong, but I told myself, I'm like, they're just faking it, because like I can fake it, they can fake it. So I took a caffeine pill for the last climb, which I knew, there's diminishing returns. And when you do that, you just get all the glycogen out of your muscles and there's nothing left, right? So took a caffeine pill, ate some sugar, and just tried to get up as fast as I could, because it was switchbacks and I was just trying to get out of sight so that they wouldn't try to chase me. And it worked. So I was able to get over the top at a few switchbacks ahead. And I know that they, like, one of them is a friend of mine, and I know that they thought I was like this good descender, but little did they know I could not run downhill.
Oh, no.
So I walked every step of that downhill, but I walked it like as fast as I could at the time, which if you look at Strava was not very fast.
I was going to say, you must have been excited to hit the downhill, because then you could really spread the gap between you, but oops.
Yeah.
No, that downhill is like pretty horrible. It's 700 meters descent on like little like ankle rolling boulder rocks. It's a Jeep road that's deep. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you imagine, after being out there for 35 hours descending that, it was horrible. So I think it took me 3.5 hours that last, like from Cunningham Gulch to the finish line, which apparently was a decent time. But yeah, I didn't run I ran the last block.
That's all that matters. That's what got you on camera.
And the girls didn't pass me, so that was
and got you to a 6th place female finish.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which was really exciting, because as you know, I'm all or nothing. So normally the nothing involves getting past a bunch like late in the race, because I just give up. Like, I just don't, if I'm not going to win, then who cares, right?
Sure.
Yeah. Well, so I'm really happy I didn't have that attitude. I was like, you know what, just do the best you can, whatever, doesn't matter, like whatever that is. And I think the fact that I was in 6th place pretty much like start to finish kind of reflects that I just kept steady, and everybody was hurting, and we all, I just kept hurting the same amount. And yeah, I was really happy. So.
Nice.
That's amazing.
And you kissed the rock at the end, of course.
Yeah. I was wondering if I didn't kiss it, like, do not finish, or like what happens?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's amazing. Good for you.
Yeah. Congrats. And what would be next now? What can top that? Your goal is completed. What's next for you?
I don't know. I like to explore. So Alberta has tons of exploring, and I think I'll just, I am running a race though. I'm running a 50-mile August 13th. So it's Iron Legs. It'll be my 5th time running it. So I decided to sign up as soon as I got back from Hardrock because I figure the altitude has got to make me like super fit. Right?
Yes.
So,
take advantage.
yeah. So because I've run it before and I know my previous times, I feel like I can get after it and maybe get a personal best on the course. And so, yeah.
And now that you have a ticket to Hardrock again next year, you would put your name back in?
I think so. You know what? Like, it's pretty rare that a race lives up to the hype. And I didn't think Hardrock could live up to the hype. Here, if you want to see
let me see. There we go.
Aw. Hi, buddy.
What's his name?
This is Gonzo.
Gonzo.
Yeah, he's attacking the headphones. Yeah, so Hardrock did live up to the hype, like 100%. And I think all my friends agreed with me on that we're first timers. And that's like super rare, right? So it would be cool to do it in the other direction.
Wow, this has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Joanna. It's been a pleasure listening to your story of your
9-year journey.
Yeah. We thought we had it bad with 7 years, but 9 years is pretty epic.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a lot of people there with like 10 plus. So yeah.
Such a hard race. Such a hard race.
Checking.
Yeah. You'll get there eventually. I keep telling, just keep going. Put your tickets in. You will get there.
And
any advice to people that have been in the lottery for a while?
Just that it's worth it. Like, I'm so happy I got in because I was basically giving up. And now that I've done it, I do think I needed the mental maturity of another 9 years of running to go and have a good time out there, right? Like, despite the vomiting and whatever, I had a good time. And I think if I gotten in earlier, I would not have been able to really appreciate it. So just know that if it's taking a long time, that you're just building up that mental resiliency to have an even better Hardrock when you get there.
That's great advice.
Awesome.
Great advice.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Awesome.
All right.
Okay. Well, we'll keep in touch.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Cheers.
Okay. Bye.
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 Well, congrats to Joanna for completing Hardrock. It sounds like an absolute crazy race. And I'm just reading under the logo on the map. Wild and tough. Sure sounds wild and tough to me.
Yeah. It took her 9 years. She was going to call it quits, but I keep telling that to people too about Western States or UTMB. Just keep going. I know that people want to do these races when they're in their prime or, to get the best result. Hey, sometimes it's about the experience.
It's about the experience once you get to the start line after going through all those lottery qualifications. It's always about the experience, unless you're a pro.
Yeah. So just keep going. You'll get there. And then
get your money's worth.
Believe me, you can look back, and if you didn't get your goal done, you're gonna be. That's what's gonna
haunt you.
Haunt you. Yeah. You gotta keep going, and you get it done. All right, that was Joanna. Until next time.
Thanks for tuning in.
Cheers.